Hey guys, Jake here from MacKite, back with another installment of Ride and Review. Today we're talking about one of my favorite kites out there, the 2021 Duotone Dice. We're going to talk about some overall impressions, what's new, what the kite's great for, what the kite's maybe not so great for, and then wrap her all up. Let us know what you'd like to see in future reviews. We want to give you the best reviews possible, so if there's more you want to hear, something that you thought we missed, please let us know in the comments below. We're also going to answer any comments below, so if you think there's something we didn't cover or you want more information on, hit that comment section and we'll be hitting you back shortly. Let's get into it. So let's just get it out of the way. The best thing about the new dice, in my opinion, is the color. The purple theme is amazing. It has these awesome retro vibes. They did away with that kind of weird sublimated tree landscape print. In my opinion, it just kind of cheapened the canopy. We're back to just old kind of geometric shapes like the Duotone North kites used to have. And I'm really pumped about the purple. That has no effect on performance, but it's like the coolest looking kite in a long time. So how does the dice fly? Honestly, it felt like hanging out with an old friend when I got back on it. They have made some changes this year. They changed the wingtips a little bit. They adjusted the bridles. One thing you're gonna notice is when you're rigging it up, the new bridles are super, super thin. I think these bridles are taking advantage of the new line material that Duotone's using, which if that's the case, and we'll talk about this in a different video, that should be a little bit less stretch, it should be more responsive, it should be longer lasting, but the bridles are really dainty compared to years past. Other than that, remember that this kite does have a wingtip dump valve. When I was first taking it out, I absentmindedly started pumping it and pumping and pumping, and then I finally remember close that off. I did also notice that the airlock valve I was using, it had a slight leak. I think that's more just a product of when you do their twist lock system, if your hose isn't, if it's got any kind of resistance, it does kind of spin it back a little bit. So as you're pumping it out, you hear just a little bit of air escaping. It didn't really affect anything at all. You know, I pumped it up to its recommended PSI, a little bit over, you know, because why the heck not? And it's sealed, there was no leaking at all. It's just when I was pumping up. I got the kite in the sky and it felt like a dice. What can I say? It's marketed at least as a freestyle wave kite. We'll get a little bit more into the wave aspect. I really, really like it as a freestyle kite. This year, those tweaks that they made to both the bridle and the wingtip shape, supposedly are going to result in it being just a big boosting king of the air jumping machine. I did feel like it probably jumped a little bit better than years past, maybe, but I wasn't really testing its aerial limits at all. What I did notice is it retained a lot of its freestyle characteristics, so it was really snappy. I wouldn't describe the bar pressure as heavy, but you always knew where the kite was, which is nice. When you're doing freestyle tricks, you can't be craning your head back trying to find the kite. You need to be able to sense it from the bar, and you could always figure out where approximately the dice was. It's really nice for down looping out of tricks. I did a few unhook things. In my mind, I did a back mob, it was super sick. In reality, I did a unhooked back to revert, kite slacked, slapped down. It felt like a really cool trick, but the dice has always been good at that. And this year's gonna be no exception. Even though it's not necessarily marketed as such, I do think the dice is a pretty nice free ride kite. It's not one of those kites where you just park it up in the sky and leave it. I do find myself very actively flying it. I'm dipping and diving it to generate wind or apparent wind. I'm moving it around when I jump. I'm not like on something like the Cabrina Switchblade where I go up, I pull in, and I take the elevator ride. That's not the dice. You're bringing it up, you're down looping, you're catching yourself. So you put more into the kite, but I think you get more out of it. It just is very rewarding. And at least personally, it really suits my style of riding. Which gets into, I think, one of those early weaknesses is if you're somebody who likes a more mellow cruiser, set it and forget it kind of kite, you're probably not going to like the Dice. It's just going to feel like a nuisance. That's not to say you can't park it, but it's not what it's designed for. If you're somebody who's just looking to cruise and do some jumps and some, you know, it's just some basic freestyle tricks, the Dice probably isn't the right kite for you either. I would say look at something, if you want to stick with duotone, like the Evo, which is a 3-strut design, or the tried and true classic, the Rebel. That's a boosting machine. The Dice, you really are into that more active, freestyle, engaged kiting experience. I did take it out with a surfboard, so it felt pretty good. It's not one of those kites that drifts particularly well. Again, going back to what I've reiterated already, it's more of an active flyer. So I found myself looping it a lot more. It was also more onshore wind. So I was having a little bit more of a difficult time really backing that kite off and getting some true rides. But if I'm really actively surfing and I'm slashing and I'm engaging the kite, I really like the Dice for that. If you do want a surfing experience that's involving more drifting and just riding the board without power from the kite, you're going to look at something like the Cabrina Drifter. You're going to look at something like the Ocean Rodeo, Rome. I think it is important to note with duotone kites, they do fly off a higher V-split on the center lines. That's not to say you can't use it with a lower V-split, but it's going to change how the kite turns. It changes the pressure on those bridles. So you'll want to use a high V-split bar. You can use their truss bar or the Duotone click bar, which is one of my personal favorites. And that click bar actually has the ability to have a high and a low V split adjustment. So you can use that with other kites in your quiver that do have a low V split. It reminds me a lot of previous generations Dices. There's been slight improvements. I don't feel like it's a totally new kite. It's just an improved kite, and it rides like a Dice. Is this kite for you? That depends on your riding. If you're somebody, again, who just likes to get out there and cruise, no. If you're somebody who likes to get out there, surf, foil, maybe. You know, I'm gonna caveat the surf. If you're somebody who likes to get out there, do freestyle tricks, it's really, really awesome for that, and you're really gonna like it. The 2021 Duotone Dice, I think, is a real winner. It feels like the Dice that came before. There's been improvements to it, and that makes it a more enjoyable kite to ride, but it fundamentally feels like a Dice. It feels like a freestyle kite, and it really, really delivers on all of those characteristics. If you're somebody who likes to go out there and cruise and jump, I would probably recommend looking at something like the Rebel and Evo. If you're somebody who's gonna go surf and foil, I would say Mono or Neo. If you're somebody who kind of does everything but really likes to spend more time in the air than on the water, the Dice is your ticket. It unhooks well, it does freestyle tricks really well. It's a pretty decent free ride kite. Because of its more kind of C shape, it's kind of a scary word to use in the industry, but the shape of that canopy is gonna make it have less low end power. Anytime you have more wingtip in that C-shaped profile, you're having basically less canopy that the wind can interact with. So it's just not gonna have as much low end grunt. It is generally gonna turn a lot faster though. So there's always trade-offs. The Dice is a kite where you experience some of those trade-offs, but if you're okay giving up a few select things, it's a really, really rewarding kite and the best looking kite of 2021. As always, guys, make sure to like, subscribe. It's super appreciated. And let us know what else you'd like to know. If you feel like I misrepresented anything, missed anything, make sure to comment in the comment section. We want to make these videos better. And we are happy to respond and elaborate on any points that you feel like we might have missed. As always, thanks for checking us out. This has been Jake with Matt Kite, Ride and Review.